Welcome to another episode of the Coaching Collective podcast, the community for coaches by coaches. Now here are your hosts, coaches Ed Hamilton and Paul Blackford.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Coaching Collective podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Paul Blackford. It's my co-host, Ed Hamilton. And today we are super lucky to have the owner operator of AthleteX. Did I say it right?
Yeah,
Yes,
sure did.
nailed it. Mel King. Welcome, Mel. How you going?
Thank you. I'm going well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me on. It was good timing. Had the pleasure of getting a little trip down south for a wedding a few weekends ago and bumped into the crew down there, and it was like, sweet, let's do it. Pick a time, let's go.
Let's have a chat.
I love that. I love that. All right, Eddie.
Me? Yeah, I wanted to start this off. I mean, if you're listening to this, obviously you know Mel, and you know what kind of a guy he is, and why obviously he was on our list of the top people that we wanted to get on the podcast when we kind of first started. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of an introduction from my end as to how I met Mel, and it'll kind of all make sense as we kind of go along. But I don't know how many years ago it was now, but we were in the old gym. Me and Cal were basically just setting up, I don't know what we were doing, setting up some shelves in the place, and never met Mel in my life beforehand. And he just comes cruising in, literally what it is about you that you make people feel so comfortable that like I was your best mate that you hadn't seen in like 10 years. And, without a hesitation, Mel just starts putting shelves together with me and Cal, just like before he's got to shoot off to go for a wedding, to go and celebrate some more love. And it was just a really eye-opening sort of experience of, I guess, your ability to have an impact on people quite quickly. And you had quite a distinct impact on me as regards to like how comfortable you made me feel in my own skin just to be around you, even though we were just like talking nothing, but like even just to be able to open up, have a chat, have banter within 2 minutes of meeting each other. And yeah, you've always, stuck on my mind and someone on my radar that in this space of like the coaching realm that I've always wanted to kind of keep up to date with what's going on at AthleteX and see what you guys promote. And I really love what you guys do up there and all the realms of things that you guys touch on and preach, and sort of like we'll dive into it a little bit more, but like the whole ethos of what you guys are doing up there. But also like, again, today, and this intent of this podcast is, I guess, to dive a little bit deeper, not necessarily we'll touch on AthleteX, but we're going to kind of get to know you, Mel, and get to know your story and how you kind of got into this space and being this sort of coaching collective, experience or onboarding and journey so far as being a coach. So yeah, like obviously, thanks again for jumping on. Thanks again for, not to get too deep and DNMing on this straight away, but like thanks for just being you, just being just a general legend. And like I said, anyone that knows Mel, if listening to this podcast, will probably have a similar story of how you made him feel pretty comfortable and like family almost, like straight up. So yeah, man, appreciate you, appreciate all you do, appreciate your messages, everything that you're putting out there is always good vibes. And again, that comes down to the ethos that is AthleteX. But I guess to kind of kick things off with the questionnaire that we kind of shot through real quick is touching on the coaching side of things, is being a coach for you. And I guess I kind of do see it in your messaging that you put it across, but less, I guess, around from the business standpoint. But I'm sure the business is just an expression of your sort of like your ethos into it. But what does coaching mean to you? What does being in the role of being a coach to other people mean to you?
Firstly, thanks for the intro. I think I remember that day, and I was off to a wedding, and I just remember you guys put stuff together, and I like making stuff. So I was like, I can give a hand.
I can do that.
I definitely wasn't like a deep thought to like, oh, this is my in to get to know these guys. I was just like, let's build some stuff. But great question of like, what does it mean to me? I suppose like after thinking about it and thought about it for a long time, it's like, why am I doing this? I guess with my life. And at the end of the day, it's like something that I've been doing now for over 10 years. I would say I'm probably like more of an accidental coach than some. Like it wasn't super intentional. Like this is what I'm going to do with my life. And at a young age, I knew this is what I wanted to do. I've had like endless jobs, from apprenticeships, working away, to postman, to working at bars and clubs and traveling and snowboard instructing, and like it's a long list of things that I've done. And I think how I've ended up here is also like a long story, but I feel like an accidental coach probably describes it pretty well, in that I never really set out to like have gym. It just kind of fell into place in that, like, I loved helping people, and I got a lot out of training and being around people as well. And I think part of that thing that you sort of touched on around like making people feel comfortable is like, for a lot of the people that I serve and that we serve here, they're not your typical gym people. And it's probably similar down at the movement as well. Like, I really don't look that much like a coach. I've got like glasses. I tend to wear like, I mean, I wear the same clothes every day, essentially. They're gym clothes, but AthleteX stuff. But I really don't look like a gym guy, which I think for a lot of people, it's like, it can be disarming. Maybe what they think a gym owner looks like and acts like and feels like is one thing, but then when they maybe meet me, it's a different story of like how I come across and how I've ended up in this space. But I think the accidental coach and gym owner is probably a good way to describe it.
So in that onboarding process, how did that sort of start for you regarding coaching? So it was like, did you sort of set out with like, you know, say like, okay, it's not a typical coach, like let's say, let's give some framework to that. Maybe they're like, they do their cert 3 and 4, they start as a gym instructor, they work the floor, they clean the rowers. Like, I'm just saying this because this is what I did. It's like, you do all that crap and then you do your cert 4, you become a personal trainer, you start coaching people, and then you're working through the whole jungle of it and figuring out what you want to do. It's the kind of like things that we've spoken about before. And then obviously that shifted gears and can shift down into gears as like, look, I've got all these clients and now I'm making enough money. Maybe I'll open up my own space. Oh, look, now I'm doing my own thing. Like, obviously not being typical. Did you sort of see the opportunity in coming into being a coach as a business opportunity, or talking about the passion for it? Or was it still like you had a big passion for the actual, like we kind of talk about the craft of coaching, like the movement, the seeing the improvement in those areas? Or was it more of like, looking at it through that lens?
My sort of soiree into coaching was that I was training at a gym, and a CrossFit gym, 12 years ago, something like that. And I went and did CrossFit level 1, like off my own back. I was like, I love this. This is so epic. I don't know what it's about, but I'm going to go and do the level 1, which is, for those that you don't know, it's a 2-day course. It's like you get certified as a level 1, but ultimately you can coach from that in a CrossFit gym. I did that course and didn't have a job afterwards. I just did the course. I was like, that was a sick course. And then that was it. And then the gym I was at needed a coach. And the lady that owned it, Beck from CrossFit Quarter, who's not there anymore, she's busy wrangling 4 kids, which respect to her. She was like, hey, like, do you want to do this coaching thing? And I was like, I don't know how to do it. Like, I don't know if I can do it. But I was like, yeah, I'd love to. And essentially she kind of gave me a go. She gave me a crack at it, and I was already kind of all in on the community and the training, because I'd come from like team sports my whole sort of junior athletic career, I guess. And this style of training in like CrossFit and group training felt like team sports to me. I was like, sweet, I'm like all in on this team. This is my crew. Let's do it. When they needed a coach, I was like, yeah, I can definitely support this crew because these are my people. And it kind of grew from there. I did that. I still don't have my cert 3 and 4. I'm probably the least qualified gym owner in Perth. I also don't have my CrossFit level 1 anymore. It's expired. So I don't have a degree or any certifications at the moment, which is probably not the best thing. But I got 12 years of coaching, which I think probably goes a long way. And then it just kind of sort of snowballed from there. I was coaching at that gym for maybe 2 or 3 years, but doing other things at the same time. I wanted to become an architect when I was younger. So I was doing a diploma in graphic design and then a diploma in building design. And then I did a week at university and realized I can't sit still for more than an hour. So this thing going to go great for me. And at the time I was like, okay, I was 26 by the time those years of coaching and doing other things that kind of rolled around. And I was like, okay, if I open a gym now and give it a go, I'll be 30 if it doesn't go well in 5 years. And that was my like mindset of like, I'll give it a go for 5 years. If it goes well, we'll just carry on. If it doesn't go well, I'll go back to university and force myself to learn to sit still for a period of time. And then here we are. It's nearly 8 years of AthleteX, and yeah, proud to say it's still here. I still love it, and we're still going strong.
Awesome. I
Nice
think
one, mate.
there's a couple of things in that in regards to like obviously why something that we're starting up in this venture with like TCC and getting a community of coaches together. I think there's nothing more relevant than the comments of making like, I don't have the certification in this, I don't have a certification in this, but I got 12 years under my belt. And, we all know, us three sitting in here, that is really the thing that matters. We're like, with the way that the onboarding systems are at the moment, once you just need to get your foot in the door, and then you can go like anywhere with that. And that's what, again, coming back to why we wanted to kind of talk to you with that today. I didn't know that, but it is one of those things that just makes me realize like we're on the right track and getting the right people around sort of this concept in regards to how much you could help someone else in that similar boat in regards to starting up. Because, you do your cert 3 and 4, you do your level 1 and you get your foot in the door, and then it's like, okay, but now what? And like, I think, the more we can gather like-minded individuals together and create a space for coaches to feel comfortable and, an ability to ask questions and to, whatever, if they feel like they're struggling with things or have just anything that they kind of want to talk about, I just don't think you can beat experience. And like, not saying that we've all done, like, again, the experience is like, no, we haven't done everything right. No, we don't have all the right answers, but we have, hey, I did this, or I tried this, or I found that this works. And so I thought that like, that just makes so much sense as to like the more and more we do this and the more and more people we talk to. So like, running joke, we had a podcast with Dan Williams that we forgot to press record on. So I don't know if you can see the big record red button that's on the screen that says 24 minutes and 15 seconds. We missed that. We didn't hit that button. So, but he was talking about the same thing regarding, he was like, yeah, I didn't do my cert 3 or 4. And he was like, and I came in it from this angle with an exercise phys and then he's taken on his path. And it's just like, you just got to get in and start working with people and find like what kind of works best for you. I guess the other part to that is like saying with your onboarding, and it was kind of something that another one of the coaches and the one person that I worked with a little while ago with Carter from the game plan is he was asking, someone asked a question on his story regarding like, what's a piece of advice for like getting into coaching? And his one was to find a mentor. So with you going under the course of like CrossFit Quarter with Beck, have you kept, or did you feel like she had a big impact in the way that you deliver coaching, or someone that you did kind of look up to or mentor to? Or have you just like with that, have you kind of found your own rhythm with it and kind of found your own style? Or was there someone like that you kind of like took guidance in?
Yeah, great question. She definitely early doors like was that mentor for me of like, here's someone that like opened a gym. I want to do that. I want to be a coach and things like that as well. I'd say the even like back to your point around like just starting, like that's what you do in training. You need to just start doing something and like begin by, you're probably going to do shit reps in the beginning anyway. Like, so just do them. And then before you earn the right to do good reps, it's the same in coaching.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the biggest thing for me was finding someone that was willing to be coached by me, that I felt like I could help. So it was like, hey, I'm going to like do this for free. You're going to have to pay me because I don't know what I'm doing. So let's just like do it together. I used to train with people and we'd like blow and riff off like, cool, let's try this and see how it goes. We'll do it for a few weeks. You're getting stronger. Sweet. It's working. Or no, it's not. Then let's try something else. I feel like that's the same in training, and it works for coaching as well. Like reading books and getting certification go back a long way, because if the knowledge bank behind you is good, but there's nothing like standing in front of somebody who's sitting there like, I don't often they can be emotional saying, I fucking need your help. And if you've never sat there with someone and gone, I actually believe I can help you, then in that moment, it's like, it's scary for them because they're like, I don't know what's going on. I need some help. And you're sitting there going, I don't know what to do either, but I don't know how to help you.
Yeah.
So it's like just getting in the trenches is like a common one of like, let's just start coaching. Let's just start like actually supporting, if you've got a partner, begin with them. If you've got a brother, sister or cousin, like start with them. And before you know it, they'll tell, if you do a good job, you'll be busy quickly because people want to be helped. There's a lot of people that are struggling. So they'll do the work for you when it comes to like selling your free services.
Yeah.
And how much of,
but it's,
sorry, Mel, you go.
No, I was just going to say, as far as mentors go, like Beck was definitely the first one. And she kind of taught me what it meant to be a coach, and probably more so gave me the passion to like consider it could be a job and keep going with it. But along the way of the last sort of, nearly 10 plus years, there's been multiple people that have probably worn that hat unknowingly, but also knowingly sometimes.
Mhm. I wanted to just touch on that bit of advice he had there for like newcomers to the industry, and I find this a lot where confidence potentially lacks in the new skills, and there's hesitation to jump in with someone, but that familiarity and comfort with a friend or a family member, or someone who's willing to just say, hey, you know what, I just need someone to tell me what to do, and you don't realize as a newcomer that you know more than them. You actually do. So even if you're just like fresh out of PT school, whatnot, you've got some skills or some knowledge that will actually help push them in the right direction. So that's super good advice. Yeah.
I feel like too, like people would say, well, if they're easy to coach someone that they're actually the hardest people in the world to coach, because they already know who you are, and there's already a relationship there. And
right. You don't have to build rapport.
So but if you can get through those things, it actually, I find it does become easier with newer people, because you get to build all those sort of knowings and understandings of each other from a scratch, as opposed to like a previous kind of connection and relationship with somebody that's already sustained and built.
Yeah.
I personally find it harder to do that with people that I already know, because you're like, oh, hang on, we know each other from sitting at the pub having beers. Now I got to be a coach. What the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
So sometimes when people are fresh, all they know of you is you're here to coach me. It's like, cool, let's do it.
Mm.
Do you, or have you, in the build up to where you are now, dabbled in like one-on-ones? Do you do that sort of thing as well, or are you primarily just class-based coach, or you mix it in, or like do you do a little bit of each?
Yeah, a bit of both at the moment. We're probably, all the coaches here do one-on-one, and we share the group stuff, because that's like the community side of things, so people can get to know us as coaches, and just a different vibe, I guess, having multiple people in the room than not multiple people. So we all do one-on-ones, we all do group as well. And how it works here, like I say group, probably like we average like 8 to 10 in the class. Definitely not like we have a huge gym, but we don't like fill it. And that's kind of by design. I loved the smaller group stuff when I was kind of coming up. It's just how I set things up and how we kind of do things here. But the group stuff for us is kind of the bread and butter. But we all do PTs. Yeah.
And do you have like a sort of specialty niche? Do each of your PTs have a specialty niche, or obviously specifically having you here today, like is there something that you kind of like to dive into, or you pretty like again, we've had a few different people on now, so like some, I know for me and Paulie, we kind of like niche down over our time in the industry. But are you more so generalist, like anyone that comes through the door, you're happy to kind of have a chat with and get in, or do you have like a specific sort of person that you kind of work with or target, or break down on?
Yeah, I would say it's like evolved over the years. Originally it's like anyone and everyone, but I'd say probably more so I enjoy the people that really just don't like training.
I love that.
If people hate going to the gym, I consider it my job to make it enjoyable for them to get there.
Cool.
Whether they're new or returning from injury or whatever, it's like for whatever reason they've decided not working out. It's like, cool. First and foremost, it's my job to make sure you come to the next session.
Yeah.
So let's start with that.
Is that sort of like, I guess, coming back to the first question of like, what does coaching mean to you? Is that like the role you see, as yourself as a coach? Obviously, like we can have different roles. And I think this is what I really love about you is like, it's such a different sort of onboarding process, as you said, the accidental kind of coach where, it's not sounding like you're getting too caught up in like, it's like about this and it's about this methodology and it's about this. It's like, I just want people to feel comfortable. I myself, like I'm not the stereotypical gym owner looking guy with whatever. And it's like my role in that coaching, and your answer to that question of like who you specifically take on is like the people that don't want to go to the gym. And it's like, I just think that's I just don't think people like get how cool that is in regards to like breaking down so many barriers for people, but also just like for you wanting to be that. And what is, I guess, like, yeah, coming back to that, like, is that what you kind of feel when we say like, what does coaching mean to you? Like being that person?
Yeah, I think that for me is probably the ethos that I try to drive in the whole place, is one of comfort and, like, to be honest, like safety, just to be yourself. Because often people are going around through their day to day and they don't feel safe or comfortable enough to like be themselves anywhere. So if you can offer that up in a gym, that to me that feels like quite unique and special. But as far as like training methodologies, the reason I don't really dive in and have one that I believe in is because I believe that they all work. Like if you want to powerlift, then sick, do that. If you want to weightlift, then do that. If you love cardio, then epic, do that. It's the best part about coaching and training is we're all completely wrong and we're all completely right at exactly the same time.
Truth.
Depending on like the context and the person and the environment and the day and the hour and the month and all that sort of stuff. It's like you can be like so hard fast that you're correct and true, but I could put someone in front of you that makes you look like an absolute idiot.
We were just
And it's
talking
like-
about this actually
Well,
before you came
I
on.
think-
100%.
Yeah. I think like, and we've spoken about it, when we spoke about it with Dan, not to bring it up, but it comes around in circles of like, again, we said Paulie, like this like Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Like you don't know much, or you think you know a lot when you don't know much. Then you learn more and realize you don't know much. And then you become an expert and realize like that literally what you said, it depends. It is a vast world of like, I can make you look like a genius. I can also make you look like a fool. And I think once you have that sort of mindset, when you kind of get to that point in your coaching career, like for yourself and like for all coaches, you know, like listening to this podcast, it is that. It's like, you need to go on that journey. That journey is only going to come with time. Like, yes, we've spoken about, could we do things better to like create a better onboarding process so it's a little bit more dived in, it's a little bit more in detail so that you can, I guess, come in and feel maybe a little bit more equipped with the basics. Okay, how to write a program, how to market, how to, you know, do a movement assessment, how to train a bit of energy system stuff, how to like get in and the craft and the nitty gritty. But then, yeah, then go in and spend your time in the industry and like dive into it. Whereas I think, you know, me and Paulie, I don't know if you have done any of it with it as well, like being a mentor or being like a set 3 and 4 person to come in and do some hours under the belt and shadowing. But something we just kind of talk about a lot is just that fear of like, even though they're doing their certifications, they just feel nervous about coming in. And I get that like on any job, you know, from the sounds of it, you've done that many trades where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm sure like as an apprentice, you're like, I don't want to cut this piece of wood because I'm probably going to cut it wrong. And it's like, okay, once you start cutting enough wood, you're like, you're not really thinking about it. You're on like autopilot and you're going to learn as you kind of go. But I think so many people just end up getting like paralyzed in terms of making a decision because of that system maybe not being sharp enough to come in with at least the fundamental, like a little bit more of the fundamentals to then make that decision. But I really like that, like, yeah, on either end of the spectrum, you get to the point in your career where you're like, it's all good. And I think, again, that was something that was consistent with Dan. It's like, you know, he could easily talk to us about all things energy systems and all things exercise phys, and his wording was the same. It was like, just move, just train, just do powerlifting, do lifting, do conditioning, do whatever it is that you want to do, because majority of the time, like, we've got an issue of people not moving enough, not people like over moving. So I think that's like, I just love that. I like kind of consistency that we get across the board, and we're not doing that intentionally. We obviously picking the people that we like to talk to, but it's just a nice kind of consistency that we start to see across the board in coaches that have been like in the industry, and trying to, I guess, if there are any young coaches out there, you know, jumping on board, and hopefully we can be that support network, which we're trying to be for people, is a consistent message of like, find your feet, but you'll be fine. Like, you know, like get your experience under your belt and then you'll be sweet. So I guess like leaning into the other topics that we're going to talk about, like coaching and this and that, we're kind of leaning into sort of starting up AthleteX as well, and the ethos of kind of like choose kind, and I love all this stuff that you guys kind of preach. So let's kind of direct that into there. Obviously, right, we've done the onboarding, you've gone and spent time with Beck, you've done a little bit of work for free, which is another whole podcast that we could kind of talk about wetting your feet and doing the hard yards. I'm not doing the hard yards, but just like getting your practice in, you know, with that. But you're starting up now, you're coming out of that, you're going to look at starting up your own gym. And then like, so just run us through like sort of how AthleteX started and the road from there.
Well, it started with no idea how to run a business, which is always usually how all great businesses begin. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of planning going on. I did the dumb math of like, cool, if each member pays this much, this is how much you need to cover the rent. If you get this many members, then that's like, oh, cool, you can pay yourself X. That was the math.
The napkin
It was
maths.
like, yeah, it was like, cool. We need 4 people to cover rent. We need 20 people to do this, and it was like that's how it was. When the gym started, we didn't start with like a membership base because I had like a lot of respect for Beth giving me a chance, and I wouldn't have had a gym had she not given me a go. So I actually didn't go where I would have wanted to go as a gym, which was over near where I was living at the time. I was like, cool, I got to move away a bit because it's too close to where she is. So I was like, cool, we're going to find this other suburb that's like up and coming, young families. I'm going to see how it goes. I'm proud to say in the first month, we found 3 people. So that was like, we didn't quite cover rent, but we didn't need to pay rent for the first 3 months. So that was nice. And essentially it was just a lot of trial and error. We definitely went down the path of like going with like some business coaching periodically. Like we do, I reckon I've done maybe 5 or 6 different versions of like business coaching that would typically last anywhere between sort of 4 to 12 months, depending on the group and what I was trying to learn and stuff like that. And each of those processes taught me something else about business that I had no idea about, whether it was marketing or sales or another avenue to get better as a business. And it just became this constant evolution of like good, better, best. Like, okay, it's pretty good now. Can it be better? Yes. Well, then let's try to aim to do that to hope that one day we're the best. That's kind of the ethos that's always been, this is the best version of this gym that it's ever been at the moment. But is it the best ever? No, it's pretty good. Do I want it to be better? Absolutely. So we just keep aiming for the best, knowing it's never really going to get there. But it's pretty good at the moment. Hopefully we can make it better over the next period of time. And that's kind of how it's constantly been. I think one cool thing for me is when people come here, they're like, oh, this place is epic. Like, how awesome is this space? Look at this and that, look at the other. But I spend every day here. So I'm constantly like, nah, that's not quite right. Or nah, I want to change that. Or like, nah, I want to paint that wall or that. I think that's probably been the biggest thing for me is constantly trying to improve it, whether it's the experience, the visuals of the place. I'm somebody that like nice looking things because I've done that previous study around graphic design and building design. So I like the look of things, and I like the look of it. That's half the battle. Like, cool. I actually spend probably the most time here out of anybody. So I need to make it somewhere that I actually want to go. And for me, that then just funneled into the experience of everybody else. And, you know, when somebody says to me, I like coming here because everything has a home, everything has a place. I'm like, yeah, because I like that as well.
Yeah.
I like the fact that everything has a home and has a place because it looks neat and tidy. And that's just something that I like. Maybe it's a different story in my home, but here at work, I enjoy it.
Nice. And then I guess getting into those two things of like name wise. So like, is there something behind AthleteX and then running into sort of choose kindness? I mean, like, you know, basing off the previous conversations we've had already in this podcast, we can see that that's something that's super important to you and I'm sure making people feel extremely comfortable. So I know how that kind of filters in, but like, yeah, like conscious thought into both of those things.
Yeah, I think it used to be called, I had 2 business owners partners when I first opened. It was called CrossFit Key, which was an old gym down in Brio, no longer around, circa, years and years ago. And then I sort of separated from the 2 guys that helped open the gym, and Sam Newton came on board and we rebranded as AthleteX. Sam was probably more in that sort of sports performance space. He has a sports science degree, very much enjoys like the programming and nitty gritty side of training. So it became like that was the blend of the 2 of us in that, like, that wasn't my passion. It wasn't that area that I'd deep dive into. So AthleteX and the tagline of there's an athlete in all of us was born in that, like, there's an athlete in the highest levels of athletes and they're trying to achieve 0.1% of some of the most amazing human feats possible. But equally a mum returning back from having kids, trying to literally walk down the stairs, keeping her bladder full. Like, to me, that was the same goal. Like, I never really separated the two, which was where kind of the name and the ethos was born. We wanted to try and have everyone feel like they were trying to drive towards get better and achieve whatever was great for them. That was our sort of ethos and where it came.
Yeah, I love that. Like, remembering times when we first kind of met and caught up, that it was Sam. Sam was working with you at the time, and obviously changed directions a little bit with stuff going on for him. But like, that was like the combo, right? You really felt that in regards to like Sammy, you, and just hitting it from both ends really, really nicely. And but like I said, it's really cool to also see that in terms of blending. Like, you can be so vast. Like, I guess what I mean by that is it really summed up the differences in what it means to be a coach. It can mean so many different things. And like, for you, you're like, I'm just not super passionate about doing that as much as you are. And then in vice versa, Sam's like obviously a super nice guy, but like maybe his passion is like so much into this, that these areas that you're like nailing or super passionate about. And it's just like that really nice blend in the two. And then obviously Choose Kind, I guess it kind of just fits into that regarding like the community that you want to create in regards to that like safe space. Like you said, like, who are the people that you want to work with? The people that don't want to be in the gym working out. So it needs to be a space that can be, friendly and open. So I'm sure, I'm again assuming that coming off the back of your own sort of like words, that's just kind of where that leaked into.
Yeah, that was born out of, it was years ago actually when Sam was still around, and we had basically like a really rough few months. Essentially, I lost one of my best mates to suicide, and then Sam lost someone super close to him, one of his really good mates up where he was living in Broome. Same thing, the next month to suicide. And then the month after, one of my good friends' uncle passed away to the same thing. And then Caitlin, my wife's dad, passed away. So it was like 4 months in a row of just like what would be considered as really fucked up and like horrible things that were happening around us. And we sat down and we were like, what's going on here? Like, why is this happening? And we need to do something about it. Choose Kind was actually the love child of Sam's wife, Beck, and her sister, Morag. They're both super creative, and like they had come up with this Choose Kind message. And off the back of there's an athlete in all of us, there's kindness in all of us was kind of born. And we made t-shirts and sold them, and all the funds went to like charity to try and improve the life and well-being of people from WA, essentially. That's kind of where it was born, and it's still, I think now more than ever, like that time of like our gym life, people that were around then, which includes you both, like that's kind of like what we're known for now. Like that message of like Choose Kind. The shirts are everywhere. It's always nice. I get a random text every now and then of someone at the shops in Boston wearing a Choose Kind shirt, and I'm like, yeah, that's it's still going around.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing is like people read a shirt that says that, and it's like,
Yeah.
it makes people pause. It's like only 2 words, like Choose Kind. It does just give people that little moment to pause and reflect, and people will take it where they want to, depending on how they're going in life at the moment. But it was just like born out of a bit of a rough patch for us, and how we could try to turn that rough patch into maybe some positive change.
I remember seeing him at the first time. I think it was at Hayden Lavunda's comp at Games Day, and and the shirts came out, and I was just like, fuck, that's sick. That's such a cool shirt. Like, yeah, like you said, like power in 2 words of like, just choose kind. Like the next, like, because again, like all our days are made up of choices, right? So it's like, just be nice, just be kind, keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. If you just do that. Yeah. And I was like,
Yeah,
that's a good message.
and like full circle back to like your experience of me putting tubes together. That's it. Like, these 2 guys are putting this thing together. I think I remember you both had somewhere to be, so it needed to get done quickly. And I was like, well, we can add 2 more hands here, and
I think
get
at
it
that
done
time,
faster.
me and Cal probably only worrying about getting back to training. So it wasn't probably anything urgent that needed to kind of get back to. Cal was probably thinking about the 6 Metcons that he's got to hit in the afternoon for.
And it was
yeah.
at that moment I remembered I'm going to this wedding, so I'm not joining in.
Yeah. And I guess, I mean, it's always, it's hard to hear those stories. And I think, if anything that we know, it's like your actions speak louder than the words. And I think that's one of the big things that I constantly see from you guys, is that everything aligns with those. It's not like, our values are discipline and honesty and this and that. And you're like, go to the gym and you're like, what is, okay, like these aren't the things I'm hearing from people, or these aren't the, so I think props to you guys at the fact that the message, the strong message that you put out, and I see it all the time, and it kind of takes us into the next point that I know that you've done work involvement with, men's mental health and a company. I think it is Tomorrow Man, isn't it? Yeah. So when they came down to the gym and we did that, and that was such a powerful workshop that we ran through. I don't know if you were working in that at the time, but I know that it's something that you did dive into. So, as another aspect to your coaching, that has been something in, like inside the gym, outside the gym, in different areas. You have been involved as a coach, I guess, as a mentor in other areas. And just go maybe give us a little bit of run through of, obviously, I'm assuming coming off the back of some of the hard times there, that was kind of like a push to kind of get in there and be like, all right, well, rather than talking about it, how can I make a change? And run us through that.
Yeah, I mean, that was it. That was kind of the next evolution of trying to help more people, to be honest. But I got physical gym here. And there's probably a cap on how many people we can see here. And like, it's a very deliberate cap. I don't want any more gyms. One's enough for me. But I was like, okay, how can I help more people than just the people that are in this gym? And we actually looked into a charity called the Kai Feller Foundation, which at the time were the funders of the Tomorrow Man workshop. And I went along to one and probably had a similar experience to what you did, which was like, well, that was an amazing experience, 2 hours of my life. Like, that's where the money should go for this Choose Kind t-shirts. So we were giving the money to the Kai Feller Foundation, and then now we're getting enough done to the Tomorrow Man workshop. An opportunity came up, and again, probably like accidental falling into it. And the sort of the job description was like things along the lines of like comfortable talking to people, happy to work with kids. And it was literally just like these lists of things. And I was like, that's literally what I already do, but it's also like what I want to do. So I essentially stepped away from coaching for nearly 2 years and was full-time with Tomorrow Man. Running workshops all across WA. Came down to your gym and ran one. You guys went there, but the one before you were there, and it was like, I'd heard epic stories. And yeah, we traveled the whole of the state, essentially running workshops, trying to support people of WA to live full lives. And why I did it is because I lost somebody that was struggling, and he didn't have the tools to maybe connect or ask for help, or even just to tell anybody that he was struggling, to be honest. And equally, like myself and our friendship group maybe didn't have the tools to see that he was struggling. So it was literally born out of that, of like, if I get to help one person not go through what I went through with my mate, that was of good value to me, let alone hopefully it was of good value to other people. But kind of, again, it was accidental, but at the time it felt like I was needed elsewhere to go and run those workshops.
Mel, did that,
so that's what I did.
That happen on purpose, like the 2 years? Was that sort of a specific amount of time that you'd planned to do that? And what ended up drawing you back into the gym, into coaching?
Yeah, great question. It was never designed like a time frame. It actually took me like a year to build myself out of the gym. I was coaching a fair bit. I was the gym manager, doing all the things that running a business entailed. And it took me a year to kind of build myself away from the gym by hiring a few more coaches and things like that. The 2-year mark, eventually Tomorrow Man sort of stopped their workshops here in WA. And that kind of coincided with the birth of my first child. So it became something that I was like, okay, I've done that. And it was an amazing experience. And I learned a lot as well. I feel like we got to do such amazing work. But it at the time felt like it was time for me to go back to the gym, back into coaching, and back into running, my business kind of in person, let's say.
Yeah. I remember specifically us having a conversation, potentially outside of the gym. We bumped into each other around about the time that you were really ramping up the Tomorrow Man stuff, and just that message, or just your energy around being able to help more people, was really powerful. But then I don't think we got to talk about like the other side of Tomorrow Man and you coming back into the gym. But I remember seeing a lot of your messaging via socials in and around that. And I just remember feeling such, I don't know, there was just joy in the decision making to come back to a place that was super important to you, being AthleteX, and you know, having that touch point with the people, the members, the other coaches, and like your clients and whatnot. So like something from my memory in and around those times that was big.
Definitely, for me, it felt like I was like called to go and do this other thing. And I remember like, and I say to coaches, young coaches, like if they are like, oh, I want to open a gym, I'm like, okay, like, oh, why? What do you think that looks like? Or those sorts of conversations. I'll always like ask some questions about it. But for me, I usually lead with the, like, if you didn't do it and you're 60 and you're like that person that's like, oh, I'd always said I was going to open a gym and give it a red hot crack. And it's like, would you regret not having a go, or would you regret not knowing enough to have, like, having a go at something is a beautiful thing, but also thinking about why you want to do it is the follow-up. I think owning a gym it looks pretty to a lot of people. And it is fucking cool. Like, you got this massive warehouse, like people know me as like the AthleteX guy. It is a cool thing to do. But for me, stepping away was hard, first and foremost, because I was like, are they still going to know me as the gym guy? But to have something like that to come back to, I was just so grateful that like I could go back to doing this thing that at this point now I'm like very comfortable and confident doing, but also going back to people that I knew would sort of welcome me. How I stopped doing the Tomorrow Man workshops is one thing, but knowing I could come back and coach and be around people in a gym again was like I literally just fell in love with it again and was like, cool, let's do this now. Like, this is where I am, this is where I want to be, and let's do it.
I feel like that's like what Paulie was saying now, like, I guess a little bit of wanting to reconnect with you is just feeling that a lot through what you're kind of promoting around, like just the gratitude of like, you know, closing up at 7 p.m. and just do like a little story of like, I am so grateful for this place to support me, my family, the community that is around me. I just think, and even that, like a bit of incidental, additional like study in regards to the thing that you are so passionate about in terms of helping people is like, I'm going on a 2-year stint and I'm going to develop a skill set that's going to allow me to do that. Just as important as it is like, I'm going to go and do this course on biomechanics, and that's me. Yeah. And it's like, this is going to help people. It's like, it's just as important in regards to all the aspects we talk about with coaching, which I just think is like awesome. So obviously you don't want to hold you up too much longer, but just to kind of go into the last thing that we want to talk about, which is, if you've got 2 minutes, is one, just like the insight into kind of, I guess, like what we spoke about when we caught up down south in regards to like this idea behind a community for coaches, a space to kind of connect and share and learn and talk and nut things out. Like, we kind of said like, yeah, there are things that have been around before, but how do you see something like this kind of fitting into the industry and its relevance, or if you do feel it's relevant for the space?
Yeah, I mean, if I flash to like 5 or 6 years ago when I was like still an up and coming coach and trying to like, you know, get experience and find the confidence to be a good coach, that's exactly what I did do. I had essentially a community of coaches that I would say like are my mates, and I would just go to their gym. I'd physically just drive there and be like, I'm going to come and train, let's throw down. It worked as a way in which I could actually connect with them first and foremost, but also see what they were up to, what space was like. You're like, cool, I love that, I'm going to do that at mine. Or I don't like that, I'm not going to do that at mine. And it was the same to come and see you guys. Like, I love coming down there. And half the time it's not to go to the weddings, it's just to come and see everyone at the movement, to be honest. Caitlin would like me saying that. It's true. And this is essentially like a much easier way to do that, right? Having a community of people that you look up to, you can ask questions of, you can even look at, like, it's a big part. It's probably one thing that like maybe I'm only starting to realize now, of looking at coaches and going, oh, I don't want to be like that. Like, that's not the kind of coach I want to become. That's invaluable to know. Like, otherwise you'll end up years down the line trying to be like someone that you thought it was a gun coach, and you hate it. You're like, yes, I don't want to do this anymore. Whereas I think it's like super important to go, okay, like Ed loves biomechanics. I could think of nothing worse than sitting just learning about the shoulder joint for 48 minutes on a podcast.
Perfect.
But
That's crazy talk,
that's-
bro.
No, but
that-
this is the
I
thing.
feel like
This is
Yeah.
great because this is the goal, I guess, we have with TC is that the wider the net we cast, the more people and more value points that we can offer for that person coming in, like you said, who's 5 years in or just starting, or they're like, I don't care for that. I don't care for this. I have a business question. I want to open my own gym. I'm like, all right, you want to open your own gym? Don't talk to me. I'll be hanging out in this section of the community. Like, I'm not really going to have you, but I want to be able to serve that person in regards to, hey, if we have people in this community that are coaches that own gyms, like, can we give this person some support? Because as you were kind of saying, like the working for free, the mentors, like Chris Kessel put this really nicely to me. He's like, pay it forward, because none of us can sit here and say we are here because, someone didn't give me some advice. Someone didn't spend time working with me for free. Someone didn't give me 5 minutes of their time to go, all right, like, I feel like we could work on this, or here's some advice. And I just think, like, to sit here and have all this experience that we've accumulated and, we see people coming in and struggling. It's kind of like the same thing with tomorrow, man, in some aspects of, like, there are people that come into the industry and they are struggling. They don't know where to go. They might be a really good coach and then they leave. Because it's like, we know, I think the conversion rate for something like doing the course to actually staying on as a coach, something like 80% people don't make it through. It's like, that's a high turnover. Yes, it's a high turnover because some people like aren't interested and they want to do this as a short-term thing. But if there are good quality coaches in there that don't get a shot or just don't get some help, it's like, man, we're missing out on the meta impact of actually helping more people with having people in the gym that could have a win. So, yeah, that's kind of like, I guess, again, encapsulating, like, getting in and talking to as many different people is so we can have that opportunity to help more people. I guess the lens that I kind of look through.
Yeah, no, the world needs more good coaches. Like, let's be honest, like, there's enough people out there that are struggling. So there's enough people out there that are struggling, but all the 80% that don't do it to do it, and there's still need more people to do it.
Yeah.
But there's definitely, like, and that's not like to do it in one certain way. Like, it's to do it in new ways that nobody even knows how to do. Like, yeah, I think the more people that do it and more of a melting pot of ideas and collaboration, the better.
Yeah. All right, man. We won't hold you up, but the last thing to just finish up, and it can be a nice short answer. We don't have to dive into it, but on top of all that stuff, we kind of want to know, like, as being in the industry for so long, the things that you want to kind of see improve or change. Like, what's one thing you would like to see improve or change in the industry that it is today in any aspect?
That's a big question. I feel like there's so many different avenues in which you could take
It's a
it.
whole new podcast.
But I feel like, in that podcast, I mean, it's probably goes in line with like who I am as a person, which is like the whole message around like empathy and kindness. Like, even to like in our industry, same thing. It's like, I'm not someone else, but that doesn't mean someone else is shit. They're just doing their own thing and that's their thing to do. I feel like we can get into a place of, anytime I see like negative connotations around like other coaches, like, oh, they're coming at it from a place that's like not a good place to come from. Like, the whole goes full circle back to what we started talking about, which is like, they're right for some people.
Yeah.
They're not right for everyone, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Some people need to drink from the Kool-Aid. Some people don't. So wherever they're at, let them go. They're on their own journey. And doesn't hurt to be kind. It's easier. So might as well do that.
I love that. I love that, mate. So, and just to finish up, where can people obviously find you at AthleteX in terms of location, and where can people find you in terms of socials? And yeah, just kind of touch on that.
Yeah, gym's in Bibra Lake, so not far from like Adventure World. If you're ever up this way or down this way, depending on where you're from, feel free to drop in. And yeah, we're on the socials, just the.AthleteX on the gram and Facebook.
Awesome.
Beautiful, mate.
Love it. Appreciate you spending time with us, mate, and sorry for keeping you a little bit longer than we said.
Not at
But yeah, I definitely see us down the line doing another one of these and jumping into some more of these topics in detail. But yeah, appreciate you. Love everything you do. If we haven't made that clear enough from the start, and then just yeah, keep doing you, keep helping those people, and yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
Look forward to seeing you in the gym
Thanks,
soon,
team.
bud. All right.
See you, mate.
Mel. Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Coaching Collective podcast. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and YouTube. Join all the action on the Coaching Collective Discord community by visiting join.thecoachingcollective.eu. See you in there soon, coaches.